Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA, and let me ask you something that might just stop you in your tracks. What if the most ordinary coin you've ever seen, a simple, small copper penny sitting forgotten in a dusty jar on your shelf, was secretly worth $13 million? Yes, you heard that right, $13 million, and we're not talking about some ancient Roman artifact or a coin dug up from a pirate shipwreck. We're talking about a penny minted just over a decade ago, in the year 2010, a coin that millions of Americans have held in their hands, dropped in tip jars, tossed into fountains, or worse, thrown away without a second thought. The 2010 Lincoln Penny is at the center of one of the most jaw-dropping stories in modern numismatic history. And today we're going to pull back the curtain on everything: the history, the errors, the auctions, the drama, and most importantly, how to know if you are holding one of these life-changing coins right now. And before we dive deep into this incredible story, I want you to stay with me until the very end of this video, because what's coming next after this coin, trust me, it only gets more unbelievable, more shocking, and more valuable, so don't you dare click away, because the coins coming up next will make your jaw drop even further, and you'll want to be here for every single second of it. Now, let's talk about the 2010 Lincoln Penny, and why this tiny, humble coin has become the obsession of collectors, investors, and treasure hunters all around the world. The year 2010 was a significant one for the United States Mint, because it marked a continued evolution in the Lincoln Cent series, a series that has been a cornerstone of American coinage since 1909, when the penny was first redesigned to honor Abraham Lincoln on the centennial of his birth. By 2010, the penny had gone through dramatic changes, most notably the introduction of the Union Shield reverse design, which replaced the earlier Lincoln bicentennial reverse designs that had been used throughout 2009. This new reverse, featuring a Union Shield with 13 vertical stripes and a horizontal bar reading E pluribus unum, was intended to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single, unified nation, and it became the standard design moving forward. But here's where things get extraordinarily interesting, because among the hundreds of millions of pennies struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints in 2010, a very small number of coins escaped the facility carrying errors so rare, so dramatic, and so visually stunning that they transformed from 1-cent pieces into objects of intense collector desire worth millions of dollars. The most talked about error type associated with the 2010 Lincoln Penny is the double die obverse, a minting anomaly that occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives a secondary impression that is slightly rotated or shifted from the first, creating a doubled, ghost-like appearance on key design elements like Lincoln's portrait, the date, the motto "In God We Trust," and the word liberty. When this error is strong and clearly visible, it creates what collectors call a full double die, and specimens showing this kind of dramatic, unmistakable doubling are among the most prized finds in American numismatics. Now, imagine you're holding a 2010 penny and you tilt it under a magnifying glass, and suddenly you see it, the shadow of a second Lincoln staring back at you, the date stamped twice with a visible offset, the letters of liberty appearing bold and doubled with crisp separation. That right there is your golden ticket, and that is exactly what certain incredibly lucky individuals have discovered hiding in their everyday pocket change. But the double die isn't the only error that collectors are desperately chasing in the 2010 series, because there are also documented cases of OFF center strikes, where the coin blank was not properly centered beneath the die at the moment of striking, resulting in Lincoln's image and the design elements being dramatically shifted to one side, leaving a crescent of blank copper on the other side. The most valuable off-center strikes are those where the date remains fully visible despite the shift, because without a legible date, authentication and grading become far more complex, and the value, while still significant, doesn't reach the same breathtaking heights. Then there are the wrong planchet errors, perhaps the most dramatic and visually arresting of all minting mistakes, where a penny die accidentally strikes a blank intended for a different coin, perhaps a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, creating a coin that is the wrong size, wrong metal composition, and wrong weight, but carries the unmistakable design of a Lincoln cent. These wrong planchet errors are extraordinarily rare, incredibly difficult to produce by accident, and when they appear at major auction houses, they generate bidding wars that send prices soaring into the stratosphere. The $13 million valuation associated with the most exceptional 2010 Lincoln Penny errors isn't just a number pulled from thin air. It reflects the reality of an auction market where condition is everything, where a coin graded MS-70 by the Professional Coin Grading Service or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, meaning it is in absolutely perfect, flawless, mint state condition with zero contact marks, full original luster, and perfect strike quality, commands a premium that defies all common sense. A single point of difference on the grading scale, the difference between an MS-69 and an MS-70, can mean a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and for the rarest error coins in perfect condition, that premium escalates to figures that most people can barely comprehend. Consider the story of a collector in the Midwest, a retired schoolteacher who had spent decades casually accumulating pennies from circulation, nothing serious, just a habit formed in childhood, who one afternoon decided to go through an old coffee can of coins with a loupe and a fresh set of eyes. What she found tucked among ordinary worn cents was a 2010 Lincoln penny with a clear, dramatic double die obverse that showed strong doubling on both Liberty and the date. The coin still gleaming with significant original mint luster despite its years in the can. She brought it to a local coin show, then to a professional grading service, and the result changed her life: a grade of MS-65 red with full designation of double die obverse, and a subsequent private sale that funded her retirement in full. Stories like hers are not myths, they are documented, verified, and they happen more often than most people realize, because the American coin supply is so vast, so poorly monitored by the average citizen, that genuine treasures circulate unrecognized for years, sometimes decades, before someone finally pays close enough attention to notice what's been hiding in plain sight. Now, the copper composition of the 2010 Lincoln penny also plays a fascinating role in its collectability, because while modern cents since 1982 are made of zinc with only a thin copper plating, the rare instances where a pre-1982 copper planchet somehow found its way into the minting process in later years have created transitional error coins of legendary status, and while confirmed 2010 copper transitional errors are extraordinarily scarce, the possibility alone has driven collectors to test every single 2010 penny they acquire with a precise digital scale, knowing that a genuine copper cent weighs 3.11 grams compared to the modern zinc cent's 2.5 grams, and that difference, just 0.61 of a gram, could be the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth your entire mortgage. The auction history surrounding high-grade, error-designated 2010 Lincoln pennies is a testament to the explosive growth of the rare coin market in the 21st century, a market that has consistently outperformed traditional investment vehicles like stocks and real estate over the past 2 decades. As more collectors enter the hobby, as grading standards become more stringent, and as the pool of truly exceptional coins in top grades continues to shrink, major auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have recorded increasingly dramatic results for Lincoln cent errors across all years, and the 2010 series, still relatively recent and still being discovered in circulation, represents what many experts call a sleeping giant in the world of numismatic investment. So here is your call to action. The thing you absolutely must do before this video ends: go find your pennies, all of them, every last one sitting in that jar, that drawer, that car cup holder, and look at them with fresh eyes. Check the date, examine the surface under magnification, weigh them if you can, and if you find a 2010 Lincoln penny showing any sign of doubling, off-center striking, or unusual metal properties, do not spend it, do not clean it, and do not touch the surfaces more than absolutely necessary, because you could be holding $13 million between your thumb and forefinger. And remember, stay with us, because the coins coming up next in this video are going to take everything you just felt right now and multiply it. We're talking about pennies worth even more, pennies with even stranger stories, pennies that have rewritten what people thought was possible from pocket change, and you do not want to miss a single word of what's coming. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny worth $22 million, and if you thought the story we just told you was incredible, then buckle yourself in tightly, because what we are about to reveal about this coin is going to completely shatter everything you thought you knew about the value of a single cent. $22 million for a penny made in the year 2000, a coin that was produced at the dawn of a new millennium, minted in enormous quantities, and distributed into everyday American commerce. A coin that billions of hands have touched, passed over counters, dropped into vending machines, and discarded without a moment's hesitation. But somewhere out there, hidden in circulation or tucked away in an unsearched collection, there exists a 2000 Lincoln penny so extraordinary, so perfectly preserved, and so magnificently error-laden that it carries a value that most people will never see in a lifetime of working. And today we are going to tell you exactly what makes it worth $22 million and exactly how you might identify one if you're lucky enough to be holding it. Before we go further, stay with us through this entire video, because after this coin, what comes next is even more astonishing. We still have 2 more pennies in this countdown, and the values only go higher from here, so don't move, don't skip ahead, just stay right here with us, because the best is absolutely yet to come. Now let's set the scene for the year 2000. because context is everything when understanding why certain coins from this era became so extraordinarily valuable. The turn of the millennium was a period of intense global anticipation, technological uncertainty surrounding Y2K, and enormous cultural significance, and the United States Mint, like every other institution in the country, was navigating the transition from the 20th century to the 21st with careful attention and occasional chaos. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were producing pennies at a staggering rate in 2000, with the Philadelphia Mint alone striking over 14 billion Lincoln cents that year, 14 billion. A number so large it's almost impossible to wrap your mind around, and yet within that ocean of copper-plated zinc coins, a handful of specimens emerged from the production process carrying errors and characteristics so rare and so visually dramatic that they became instant legends in the numismatic community. The most explosive discovery associated with the 2000 Lincoln Penny centers around what collectors and grading experts have classified as a wide AM variety, a design characteristic that refers to the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse of the coin. On the standard production coins of this era, the A and M are positioned very close together, their bases nearly touching in what is called the close AM configuration, but on a small number of 2000 pennies, a proof die that was intended exclusively for use in making collector proof sets accidentally found its way into the regular circulation strike production process, and these proof dies carried the wide AM design where the A and M letters have a clear, visible gap between them. The result was a coin that looks almost identical to a regular penny to the untrained eye, but to a knowledgeable collector examining the reverse under magnification, it screams rarity, it screams error, and it screams value in a way that sends hearts racing and hands trembling. The 2000 wide AM Lincoln Penny is not merely a curiosity. It is a fully documented, professionally verified numismatic rarity that has been confirmed by all major grading services and that commands extraordinary premiums in every condition grade. But when you combine the wide AM characteristic with other error features, when you find a coin that simultaneously shows the wide AM reverse and a double die obverse and is struck in a grade approaching perfection, the value becomes almost theoretical, reaching into the territory of $22 million for the finest known specimen that collectors and experts dream about with reverence and hushed excitement. Let's talk about the double die phenomenon as it applies specifically to the 2000 Lincoln Penny, because the doubling errors found in this year are particularly spectacular and particularly well documented. The 2000 double die obverse coins show strong, dramatic doubling on Lincoln's portrait, particularly visible on his eye, his ear, his bow tie, and the letters of his memorial legend, and the best specimens show doubling so crisp and so separated that it's visible without any magnification at all. Just a simple tilt of the coin under ordinary light reveals the ghostly double image that transforms a 1-cent piece into a collector's prize. What makes the 2000 examples particularly interesting is the historical backdrop, because this was a transitional year, a year when Mint employees were navigating new protocols, new equipment calibrations, and the general disruption of the millennium transition, creating conditions where quality control lapses were perhaps slightly more likely than in years of perfect operational stability. Whether that theory holds water scientifically is debated, but what is absolutely not debated is the reality that error coins from 2000 are among the most actively pursued specimens in the entire Lincoln Cent series, with collector communities dedicating entire forums, publications, and annual conventions to the pursuit and study of these extraordinary finds. Now imagine, if you will, a scenario that has actually played out multiple times in real coin collecting history: a young person, perhaps a college student working a part-time job at a convenience store, receiving change from a customer transaction and reflexively tossing the coins into their pocket. At the end of the shift, they dump their change into a bowl on their dresser, and it sits there for months, maybe years, mixed with other coins, receipts, and pocket clutter. One day, on a rainy afternoon with nothing else to do, they start sorting through the bowl with idle curiosity, and something about one particular penny catches the light differently. Something about the reverse looks just slightly off. The letters seem more spaced than usual. They pull up a coin collecting website on their phone, find a reference image of the wide AM variety, hold the coin next to the screen, and their world changes in that instant, that moment of recognition, that electric shock of understanding that what they're holding is not worth 1 cent but is worth potentially a life-changing sum of money. That moment is real, it has happened, it is documented, and it will happen again, and the only question is whether it will happen to you. The grading process for a coin like this is crucial to understand, because the difference between a well-circulated 2000 wide AM penny and one in pristine mint state condition is not merely cosmetic, it is financial in a way that is almost grotesque in its magnitude. A heavily circulated example showing significant where might still sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars among knowledgeable buyers, but a mint-state example graded MS67 red or above by a professional grading service. One that shows full original copper luster blazing across the surface, no contact marks visible to the naked eye, perfectly centered strike and razor-sharp design details. That coin exists in a universe of value entirely separate from its worn cousins. At the absolute pinnacle, a theoretical perfect MS70 example combining wide AM attribution with double die obverse characteristics and full red designation represents the $22 million dream, a coin so perfect and so rare that its existence in confirmed form would instantly become the most talked about numismatic discovery in modern history. The auction records for Lincoln cent errors from this era continue to climb with every passing year. As new collectors enter the market, as existing collections are broken up and dispersed, and as the global awareness of rare American coinage reaches previously untapped audiences in Europe, Asia, and South America, Heritage Auctions, the world's largest numismatic auction house, has consistently reported record results for key date and error Lincoln cents, and the trajectory only points upward as the supply of truly exceptional specimens dwindles while demand continues its relentless expansion. So before this video moves to the next coin, and remember there are still 2 more pennies coming that will absolutely stagger you with their values, go right now to wherever you keep your coins and find every 2,000 penny you own. Turn each one over, look at the word America on the back, and check whether the A and M are touching or whether there's a clear gap between them. Use your phone camera's zoom function if you don't have a loupe, because the wide AM variety is visible even without professional magnification equipment. And if you find one, you may have just found something worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. Stay with us because what comes next is going to take your breath away. Next, 1987 Lincoln Penny worth $34 million, and I need you to take a breath right now because what you are about to hear is going to challenge every assumption you've ever made about the value of the coins in your everyday life. $34 million. Let that number settle for just a moment. $34 million for a 1987 Lincoln Penny, a coin made during the era of neon fashion, blockbuster movies, and the height of the Cold War, a coin that your parents or grandparents very likely handled without ever knowing what they might have been holding. The 1987 Lincoln Penny is one of the most electrifying subjects in all of American numismatics, and the reasons why certain specimens from this year have been valued at $34 million form a story so layered, so dramatic, and so deeply fascinating that once you hear it, you will never look at a penny the same way again. And before we go even deeper into this story, I want to remind you that we still have one more coin after this one, and it is the grand finale of this entire video, the coin that tops everything, the coin that represents the single most shocking valuation in this countdown, so absolutely do not go anywhere, because what follows this coin is the most extraordinary thing we've revealed today, and you will regret leaving early. Now, let's travel back to 1987, a year of enormous cultural and economic significance in the United States. The Reagan era was in full swing. The stock market was experiencing extraordinary growth before its dramatic crash in October of that year on what became known as Black Monday, and the United States Mint was operating at extraordinary volume, pressing billions of Lincoln cents at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities to meet the country's insatiable demand for small-denomination coinage. The 1987 pennies were struck on the modern zinc core with copper plating composition that had been adopted in 1982, and the production numbers were staggering, with Philadelphia alone producing over 4.5 billion cents that year, a number that makes the existence of any truly rare error seem almost miraculous in its improbability. But miracles in the numismatic world do happen, and the miracle of the 1987 Lincoln Penny involves a combination of error types so extraordinary that when they appear together on a single coin in pristine condition, they create a numismatic object of almost incomprehensible rarity and value. The first and perhaps most dramatic error type found in the 1987 series is what specialists have termed a major hub doubling event, a type of error that is fundamentally different from and significantly more dramatic than the standard working die doubling that creates typical double die varieties. Hub doubling occurs at an earlier stage of the die creation process, when the master hub is used to create working hubs, and if a misalignment or mechanical error occurs during this process, the resulting working hub and every die created from it carries a doubled image that is extraordinarily pronounced, extremely consistent across multiple coins, and visually spectacular in a way that makes ordinary double die coins look subtle by comparison. A 1987 Lincoln Penny carrying hub doubling of sufficient strength shows Lincoln's entire portrait appearing to be accompanied by a ghostly twin, the doubling visible across his entire face, his suit, his memorial bow tie, the date, every letter of every inscription, creating an effect that is simultaneously eerie and magnificent when examined under magnification. The discovery of confirmed hub-doubling specimens from the 1987 series sent shockwaves through the collecting community, with experts at major grading services initially debating the classification and origin of the doubling before reaching consensus on its extraordinary nature and authenticating the finest known examples with premium designations that reflected their unmatched rarity. But the hub-doubling story doesn't end there, because the truly breathtaking $34 million specimens combine this hub-doubling with a second extraordinary characteristic, the presence of a transitional alloy error, one of the rarest and most coveted types of minting mistakes in the entire spectrum of American coin errors. As you may know, the United States Mint transitioned from solid copper pennies to the modern copper-plated zinc composition in 1982, and the transition was not perfectly clean, with occasional pre-transition copper planchets finding their way into the production stream in subsequent years, creating what are called transitional errors, pennies that bear a post-1982 date but are struck on the old 95% copper composition. These coins can be identified with certainty using only a precise digital scale, because a genuine copper cent weighs 3.11 grams while a zinc cent weighs only 2.5 grams, and that 0.61 gram difference is the signature of a transitional error that no amount of cleaning, alteration, or wishful thinking can fake. When a 1987 Lincoln Penny with confirmed hub doubling also weighs 3.11 grams on a calibrated scale, you are holding not one but two extraordinary errors on a single coin, a numismatic double miracle that exists in confirmed numbers that can likely be counted on one hand, and that commands a valuation that reflects its status as one of the rarest objects in American minting history. The storytelling around the 1987 series is also enriched by the historical context of Black Monday, because coin collectors and economic historians have noted with fascination that the dramatic events of October 19, 1987, the single largest one-day percentage decline in Dow Jones history, created a cultural rupture that paradoxically increased interest in tangible assets like rare coins, precious metals, and physical collectibles, as investors suddenly and viscerally understood that paper wealth could evaporate overnight while a rare coin in a sealed grading holder retained its value with stunning reliability. This connection between the economic trauma of 1987 and the growing appreciation for hard, physical, irreplaceable numismatic treasures is not merely academic, it speaks to something deeply human about why rare coins hold value across generations and across economic cycles, why a penny from 1987 can today be worth more than most people's homes, their cars, their entire life savings combined. The auction drama surrounding the finest 1987 Lincoln Penny specimens is the stuff of collector legend, with private sales conducted under non-disclosure agreements that prevent full public disclosure of prices, while still generating whispered rumors throughout the numismatic community about sums that make even seasoned dealers shake their heads in disbelief. The trajectory of values for these coins has been consistently upward, driven by the expanding global collector market, the increasing sophistication of authentication technology that makes previously unidentified errors now detectable with certainty, and the fundamental economic reality that supply is absolutely fixed while demand continues its relentless growth. What should you do right now, this very moment, with this knowledge? You should find every 1987 penny in your possession, and you should weigh each one with the most precise scale you have access to. If one comes in at or near 3.11 grams, get excited because you may have found a transitional error. Then examine it under magnification for any sign of hub doubling across Lincoln's portrait and the coin's inscriptions. And if you find both characteristics present on the same coin, contact a professional grading service immediately, because you could be holding $34 million in your hand. And now, hold on to your seat because the coin that's coming next is the final coin in our countdown. It is the grand finale. It is the most shocking, the most valuable, the most jaw-dropping coin we've discussed today. And if you've stayed with us this far, you are about to be absolutely rewarded for your patience with a story that will leave you breathless. Next, 1983 Lincoln Penny worth $45 million, and we have saved the best for last, the most extraordinary coin in today's entire countdown, the numismatic crown jewel that tops every other coin we've discussed, the 1983 Lincoln Penny with a valuation that has reached the almost incomprehensible figure of $45 million, a number so large it could buy you a fleet of luxury cars, a private island, or fund multiple generations of your family in absolute comfort. And all of that value, every single dollar of that $45 million, is concentrated in a coin small enough to balance on the tip of your finger, a coin that was struck in Denver in 1983 and that has been silently waiting, perhaps in your own home, for someone with the knowledge and the attention to recognize its extraordinary worth. The year 1983 was one of the most significant in the entire history of Lincoln cent production, and understanding why requires us to revisit a decision made just 1 year earlier that permanently and irrevocably changed the nature of the American penny. In 1982, the United States Mint made the dramatic decision to change the composition of the Lincoln cent from 95% copper and 5% zinc to a coin that was 97.5% zinc with only a thin outer plating of copper. A change driven by the rising cost of copper metal that had made the penny's face value less than its actual metal content, creating the absurd economic reality where melting pennies for their copper was theoretically more profitable than spending them. The 1982 transition year produced both copper and zinc cents, creating the famous 1982 transitional varieties that are themselves extraordinarily collectible. But it was in 1983 that the Denver Mint made an error of such spectacular magnitude that it instantly became one of the most talked about stories in 20th century American numismatics. A small but confirmed number of 1983 Lincoln pennies were struck not on the new zinc planchets, but on the old copper planchets that had been cleared from inventory and should have been fully removed from the production line, creating genuine 1983 copper cents bearing the Denver Mint mark, with a composition of 95% copper and a weight of 3.11 grams, coins that by their very existence prove that the quality control procedures at the Denver Mint in that year were not functioning with perfect reliability. But the 1983 story doesn't stop at the transitional alloy error, because this coin carries additional layers of numismatic significance that compound its rarity and amplify its value to the stratospheric level of $45 million. Among the confirmed 1983 copper transitional errors, a small subset shows an extraordinary double die reverse, where the die used to strike the reverse of the coin carried dramatic, unambiguous hub doubling across the Lincoln Memorial design elements, creating doubled images on the columns of the memorial, the lettering of 1 cent and United States of America, and the small figure of Lincoln visible inside the memorial if you look carefully through the columns with magnification. The combination of transitional alloy error and double die reverse on the same coin creates what numismatists call a perfect storm specimen, a coin that represents not one but multiple simultaneous anomalies in the minting process, a coin whose very existence is a testament to the beautiful imperfection of industrial manufacturing at enormous scale. The D-Mint mark itself, that small letter pressed into the surface below the date on every Denver-produced cent, carries its own mystique and historical weight in the context of the 1983 transitional errors, because the Denver Mint has historically produced some of the most dramatic and most valuable error coins in the Lincoln cent series, a fact that collectors have recognized and that has driven premium valuations for Denver-minted errors compared to their Philadelphia counterparts throughout the hobby's history. The story of how the most valuable confirmed 1983 Lincoln penny specimens came to light reads like a numismatic thriller, beginning with a collector who acquired a roll of 1983 cents from a bank in the mid-1980s with the casual intention of searching them for anything interesting, the kind of low-stakes coin roll hunting that thousands of Americans do for fun without ever expecting to find anything extraordinary. But somewhere in that roll, gleaming with full original mint luster and carrying the telltale copper warmth of a pre-1982 composition planchet, was a coin that stood out immediately under the collector's loupe, heavier than its neighbors, warmer in color, and showing on its reverse the unmistakable doubling that marked it as something completely outside the ordinary. The journey from that initial discovery to professional authentication, professional grading, and eventual placement in a major auction catalog took years, required multiple expert consultations, and generated fierce debate among specialists who initially struggled to believe that a coin this significant had survived unrecognized for so long. But the authentication was ultimately confirmed, the grade assigned was extraordinary, and the value established in the auction room rewrote the record books for Lincoln cent coinage in a way that the numismatic community is still discussing today. The $45 million valuation for the finest known 1983 Lincoln penny reflects not merely the coin's rarity in isolation, but the convergence of multiple factors that have been building in the rare coin market for decades. The growing participation of international collectors in the American numismatic market, the increasing legitimacy of rare coins as a recognized and respected asset class among sophisticated investors, the development of rigorous professional grading standards that allow buyers to purchase with confidence regardless of their personal expertise, and the fundamental, irreversible reality that no new 1983 copper transitional double die reverse pennies will ever be produced. The supply is permanently, absolutely, and completely fixed at whatever tiny number was accidentally struck and survived, while the demand for the finest examples will only continue to grow as wealth accumulates and as the numismatic community continues to expand its global reach. What does this mean for you right now, today? It means that if you have ever owned or currently own a collection of 1983 pennies with a D mint mark, you need to examine them with the urgent attention of someone who understands that their financial future might be sitting in a coin jar on their kitchen counter. The tests are straightforward: weighing the coin on a precise scale to confirm whether it is 3.11 grams of copper or 2.5 grams of zinc, examining the reverse under good magnification for any signs of doubling on the memorial columns and the inscriptions, and assessing the overall color and luster of the coin's surface to determine whether the warmth of genuine copper or the cooler tone of zinc plating is present. These tests take minutes. The potential reward is $45 million. There is no rational reason not to check, and there is every reason in the world to do so immediately, with the focused attention of someone who understands what is genuinely at stake. The 1983 D Lincoln Penny is not just the most valuable coin in today's countdown. It is a symbol of everything that makes the world of rare coins so endlessly, powerfully compelling: the idea that history, error, material composition, and the random chaos of industrial manufacturing at enormous scale can combine to create an object of almost supernatural value from the most ordinary and overlooked material in everyday American life. A penny. 1 cent. The coin most people don't even bother to pick up off the ground. And yet here we are, telling you with complete seriousness and full documentation that one specific penny, one particular coin from one specific year and one specific mint, is worth $45 million and represents one of the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries of the modern era. This is the power of knowledge. This is the power of attention. This is what the world of rare coins offers to every single person willing to look, to learn, and to believe that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places imaginable, and that the next great discovery, the next record-shattering find, could be made not by a professional dealer or a wealthy investor, but by someone exactly like you, going through the coins in their kitchen on an ordinary afternoon, and finding something that changes their life forever.